sources tell CBS News that Vice President Kamala Harris now expected to officially announce her running mate tomorrow morning. Over the weekend, Harris did interview her top picks, Governors Josh Shapiro, Tim Walz, Andy Beshear, and JB Pritzker. Also on the list, Senator Mark Kelly and Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg. Once Harris reveals her choice, the newly minted ticket will set out on a 7-state battleground tour starting in my home state of Pennsylvania. Tracking all the latest is Caitlin Huey-Burns here in our studio and Nancy Cordes at the White House. Great to see both of you. Nancy, let's begin with you. Over at the White House, we understand that Vice President Harris's decision will come tomorrow. I know every reporter in town, including you, is trying to make it happen tonight by breaking that news. Not easy. What are you hearing?
Well, what we continue to be told, believe it or not, Robert, at this late hour, is that Vice President Harris still has not made her choice, even though we've also been led to believe that she is going to announce that choice in, I'd say the next 16 hours or so, probably sometime tomorrow morning. There will be an announcement, then there will be a video released introducing the country to this pick, whoever it is, and then she's appearing side by side with this individual at a rally in Philadelphia tomorrow evening. There on the screen, you've got those final 6 contenders. 3 of them at least met with Vice President Harris at her residence in Washington, D.C. yesterday. We've been told that there were others who also spoke with her, potentially virtually. We're not sure exactly how those meetings took place, but we can definitely tell you that the decision-making has moved into the final hours as we all await the news of who her VP pick will be.
Nancy, stay with us. Caitlin, what do we know about what the vice president's looking for her own vice presidential pick?
Well, there are a variety of different reasons people choose their running mates. We just saw, we've had 2 Veep stakes in as many months. And so we just saw, Trump, the reason that he picked J.D. Vance and an heir to his kind of MAGA ideology, but also can play in the Midwest. You showed on the screen there the contenders. You will notice a theme among them. They are all white men. That is designed to, speak to a kind of a demographic, perhaps, hole that this campaign is looking to fill. But when you look at some of the top contenders, it's really interesting to see where she is announcing this pick and why. Regardless if she picks Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, or not, the fact that they are launching this pick in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia, 19 electoral votes, kind of tells you everything you need to know about where this campaign believes it needs to play, where the stakes are. It's also where the Trump team is really betting its campaign as well. So that could bode, well for someone like Shapiro or for someone like Walz, the governor of Minnesota, who could also appeal to the Midwest there.
And Nancy, CBS News has reporting that according to a source familiar with this process, the vice president is also having these formal interviews with candidates who have not been confirmed to the media. You hinted at that in your previous answer. What could be on the horizon in terms of a wild card, if any, at this point?
Right. The campaign has always insisted that there are individuals on the short list that we don't know about and that we haven't reported. Hard to imagine that she would announce someone tomorrow who has never been on anyone's radar screen. That would be highly unusual. Just think about a few weeks ago when former President Trump made his pick. We knew that there were 3 finalists, thanks in large part to your own reporting. And we got word one by one. This one has been told they're not the pick. This one has been told they're not the pick. And now J.D. Vance has been informed that he is. And so I think it's unlikely that we're going to get some kind of surprise out of the blue tomorrow, that it's someone we never imagined. That's not how this campaign tends to operate. But what we do know is that they are going to spend quite a bit of time together. In fact, they're going to spend the entire week together barnstorming the country, going from battleground state to battleground state, spending a lot more time at events together than, for example, we've seen Trump and Vance spend on the campaign trail. So it looks like they are definitely trying to send a message that they are a team. In fact, one of the criteria that we have always been told by the Harris campaign that is very important to her is that she picks somebody who can be a true governing partner, someone who she can really work with. And as someone who has spent the last 4 years as vice president herself, you can imagine why that trait would be very important to her.
It's interesting that they're going to be campaigning a lot together. It reminds me of Clinton and Gore in '92. They were presenting this, not just a ticket, but friends, it seemed, allies. Though it's not always the case. You think about the tensions between Dwight Eisenhower and Richard Nixon in 1952. Not always a perfect pair for these tickets. LBJ and JFK didn't love each other personally, even if they were political allies. Speaking of political allies, they matter in this process. Let's listen to Shawn Fain, the head of the United Auto Workers, who was on Face the Nation on Sunday.
My favorite's Andy Beshear from Kentucky. I mean, the man stood with us, on the picket line. He's been there for workers throughout every bit of our walk. He's won in a state where Mitch McConnell's from. I mean, it's been a red state traditionally, and he's won twice there.
They say in Washington, people like Shawn Fain are the great mentioners. The mentioners are the names, because this is a fluid process. Hey, Fain represents organized labor. Could it have an effect for organized labor to put their hand on the scale a little bit?
I mean, obviously, as you've done a lot of reporting on this as well, the union vote is kind of the prize demographic for both campaigns. The Trump campaign eagerly making that play, and especially with the selection of Vance. The UAW has already endorsed Harris, so it's hard to imagine that they wouldn't continue that kind of support for whoever she picks as her running mate. But that's a significant endorsement that she had secured, among others. And really, the idea that she is, likely to pick someone among that list that we showed, they're going to have, people are voicing their grievances with some. But what's been striking to see since she, essentially became the presumptive nominee is the rallying effect that the party has had around her. This is, a huge kind of contrast to how it was under Biden, when a lot of people were, questioning whether he should be the nominee. The money and the endorsements have all really lined up around her, and it's difficult to see any of those dissipating, no matter who she chooses.
And Nancy, quickly, in just the final minute, what do you say as a longtime reporter covering President Biden and Vice President Harris? What should we be paying attention to? 1 minute.
This is one of those situations where it almost feels like one of those gender reveals where you're waiting not just to see whether you're going to get a pink sign or a blue sign, but you don't even know how you're going to get the sign, whether it's going to be confetti bursting out of a cake or some other signal that a choice has been made. So we know that there's going to be this video. We know that we're going to get some other form of announcement, but clearly the Harris campaign has been working very hard, Robert, to keep the exact plan under wraps. So we'll see how they choose to make this announcement tomorrow and what it says about what they want to convey going forward.
Well, I hope the reveal comes through a text message to Nancy Cordes. Caitlin Huey-Burns and Nancy Cordes, thank you.